Okay, welcome everyone, this is your captain speaking. My name is Ross and this video is called Academic Writing 1. Now, so far on this course we've looked at overall structural issues in terms of academic writing. From now on though, we'll look at the specifics, the nuts and bolts of how you can actually write to produce elegant and impactful English language texts. But before we do anything else, let's just take a look at our target for this video. Really, I just want to introduce you to what science editors in the English-speaking world consider to be good academic writing. We're going to list 5 features of good academic writing, and we're going to do this with the help of a famous study by Helen Sword. Now, in her study, Sword gathered the results from a lot of guidelines on academic writing, and she listed the main things that science editors want. And before we get to those things, I'd like you to just pause the video here and see if you can guess in advance what those science editors want to see in academic texts. That way you can check how well your expectations stack up against the reality. Okay, so pause here and come back when you have a few ideas. Okay, welcome back. So let's see how your ideas compare with Sword's findings. In at number 5 we have active verbs, and we're going to discuss these later in the video. At number 4 we have precision, so essentially using precise phrasing so that your readers don't misunderstand anything. At number 3, plain English, and this may surprise some people since a lot of writers seem to think that the main point of scientific writing is to make themselves sound really smart. But the main point of scientific writing is to communicate information, and the more difficult you make your text to understand, the harder it is for your reader to receive the information you want to communicate to them. At number 2 we've got short and mixed length sentences. This just means that you shouldn't write everything in really long sentences that try to squeeze in too much information. And at number 1 we have 3 things really: clarity, coherence and concision. Clarity just means that you make your message clear. Coherence means that your paragraphs and text follow a logical structure that's easy to follow, and concision means not using more words than are necessary. Okay then, now that we've established some features of good academic writing, let's spend the rest of this video looking at a couple of tools that we can use to work these features into our writing: concrete subjects and active verbs. And to help us do that, I want to show you an extract of some not very good writing, some academic writing which is actually dull and boring. And I want to ask you this question: what is it about the writing in this extract that makes it so dull and boring? So pause the recording here and see if you can identify some specific features about this extract that might send readers to sleep. Then come back when you're ready. Okay then, hopefully you had a few ideas. There may actually be several things that we could criticise this extract for, but here I just want to focus on 2 reasons that this text is so dull and boring. And the first is that the phrase serious academic research into the aforementioned issue is an abstract subject. Now, at this point you might be thinking, okay, cool story bro, you've mentioned concrete subjects and abstract subjects, but you haven't actually explained what those are. Which is a fair point, so let's take a quick detour and compare concrete subjects with abstract ones. Now, the best way I know of doing this is with a quick exercise. All I need you to do is to make like this dude in the sink and close your eyes for a moment. And while your eyes are closed, I'm going to name 6 nouns. All you have to do is picture those nouns in your head when I say the words. We ready? Okay, so let's have at it. The first noun you should picture is laptop. Number 2, airport. 3, doctor. 4, compromise. 5, honesty. 6, sorrow. Okay, you can open your eyes now. And hopefully you should have noticed the pattern there. When I said laptop, you probably pictured something like this. With airport, no doubt something like this came to mind. And when I said doctor, you probably pictured someone like one of these people. Although probably without the horror movie smell that the female doctor has, because no one needs to see that creepiness when they're losing consciousness before surgery. The point here though is that these nouns were all easy for you to picture, and that's essentially what a concrete noun is. Something that gives the reader a clear and more or less specific image, something that they could sense with one of their 5 senses. The last 3 nouns though, compromise, honesty and sorrow, were probably harder for you to picture, and that's because those are abstract nouns, things that don't give you a specific mental image or that you can detect with your senses. So to sum that up, Concrete subjects might be things like objects, places, or people, while abstract subjects might be things like concepts, qualities, or emotions. Okay, now we can return to our abstract subject from our dull and boring extract. As you can see, serious academic research into the aforementioned issue doesn't really lend itself to a concrete image in the mind of the reader, and that makes it much more difficult for the reader to connect with the text because it's harder for them to see in their mind what it is that you're describing. So, let's make it easier for them. What I want you to do here is to pause the recording and see if you can think of a concrete subject to replace the abstract one here. Okay, so pause and come back when you're done. Okay, hopefully you came up with something similar to what I did, which is researchers. By using that one concrete noun as the subject of your sentence, we immediately make it clearer and easier for the reader to visualize what's going on. Okay then, so let's return to our dull and boring extract in its entirety. Here I want to talk about the second reason that makes this so dull and boring, which is that instead of an active verb governing the sentence, we have a nominalization. And right now you may be thinking, okay, but what by Thor's hammer is a nominalization? So let me just clarify that real quick. A nominalization is what happens when you take another part of speech, usually a verb, and turn it into a noun. And remember that one of the key features of good scientific writing was active verbs. Those make your writing much more vigorous and lively than a string of nouns, and a string of nouns is exactly what you get if you keep using nominalizations. Okay, so I'm going to show you our dull and boring text again, and I'd just like you to firstly identify what the nominalization is here. So what is the noun that we can turn into a verb to make our sentence more engaging? And secondly, how can we do that? Which verb can we use to replace the nominalization? Okay, so pause the recording, try to find the answers to those questions, and come back when you're done. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you were able to work out that the nominalization was gives an outline of, and that we can replace all of those words by simply writing outlines. And when we do that, we not only achieve our aim of using active verbs, we also use fewer words and so achieve the aim of making our writing more concise. Okay then, before we finish, let's just put everything together. So we had a dull and boring extract, and two of the reasons for this was that it contained an abstract noun and a nominalization. So be aware that if you write in the same way, I'm going to look like this dude here while I'm grading your paper. Okay, and then we learned that we can make our text far more interesting and well written if we use a concrete subject and an active verb. And if you do that in your assignment for this course, then I'm going to look like this dude here while I grade it. Lastly, a quick note of caution. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying that you can never use abstract nouns or nominalizations. There are definitely reasons to use both of those things. All I'm saying is that if you have a choice between a concrete or an abstract subject, or a choice between an active verb and a nominalization, and those choices don't change the meaning of your text or make it harder to understand, always go with concrete subjects and active verbs. Make those your default setting, by which I mean use concrete subjects and active verbs unless there's a good reason not to. Alrighty then, that is us done for this video. As ever, if there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, cheers, and I'll see you in class.